Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural fantasy and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season 14, or rather series 14 premiere of Doctor Who. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're picking up where the 2023 Christmas special ended, with Ruby basically about to get whisked away on a space-time traveling adventure with the Doctor. And obviously a lot of this is kind of the quick rundown for those who might be jumping into Doctor Who for the first time, but those who are also familiar with it, but also giving the tutorial rundown for Ruby about, all right, this is a TARDIS. It looks like a police box, but that's only because it's like a chameleon on the outside, but it got stuck like this. So it can travel through space and time, and it's like, oh, where do we end up going? We'll go back 150 million years. Also had to give her the quick lowdown on Gallifrey is going. It's like, yes, but that's a lengthy conversation. That's a neat. Oh, it's just like, oh, it's gone genocide. It's like, yes, but there was a whole time war and everything that happened too. But once again, we don't have time to get into the nitty gritty of that. Once again, it's kind of a thing of real quick jump in if you're not familiar with Doctor Who. That way we can move past that, where you're just like, you don't have to know the baggage of all the Doctor Who stuff, but you can immediately go, ooh, as the Doctor, you're definitely leaving out some information of what went down, but it's like, why bog Ruby down for all that? Just give you the highlights. But it's like, yeah, oh, I'm also the Doctor because the people who took me in were all about titles. I was like, oh, you're like Bishop, this and that. I was like, yeah, I'm sure you're going to dance around one other name you're definitely familiar, but let's not mention that name. But yeah, takes Ruby back to 150 million years. She's like, what if I step on a butterfly? It has an effect. He's like, what are you going to do? Like, why would you step on a butterfly? You're going to be like, oh, come here, Mr. Butterfly. And lo and behold, what's the first thing she does when she's stepping out? She steps on a butterfly and it changes things. I don't know how the Doctor did what they did. I don't know if it's a thing of you're still fresh-ish enough in your regeneration. It's like, well, no, it shouldn't be at this point, because I'm like, breathe. I don't know if like you did like pseudo CPR to that, but I was like, not let you still have some hints of your regeneration still around, that you blew your breath into that time energy into the butterfly. But I'm also lying. Wouldn't that cause some issues when that butterfly be special? But maybe I'm, because obviously we didn't see like the orange glow from the regeneration, so it didn't seem like that's what you blew into it. But I mean, it all worked out. Whatever Ruby did that changed things, changed her in that instance, got undone, and the Doctor's like, yeah, no, nothing, everything's fine, perfectly fine. Let's get out of here before more things change. But it's like, yeah, pick a random time, and she started listing off numbers. She's like, oh, 5 numbers, great. And they end up on a spaceship where they end up running into a monster which the Doctor runs from. But the Doctor's like, no, why did I run? I enjoy new things. Like, why did that scare me so much? Which I thought was interesting. Also, really quickly, something about Shurigatawa's Doctor I thought was interesting, and maybe just me reading too much. I was like, his Doctor's a lot more huggy than other Doctors. I feel like he's a lot more touchy-feely. I mean, some Doctors are better at wearing their heart on their sleeves than others. Obviously, you have your very curmudgeon-y, like, not really going to tell you how he feels type, like the 12th Doctor, Capaldi's Doctor. Some just have a hard time just telling you how they really feel type of situation. But he's very like, oh, he hugs and it's kind of like lots of fun. But that could also be like, well, the Doctor has a lot of pain and trauma that they've been through. So it's like this version of the Doctor is trying to have a new lease on life after everything that went down. So it's kind of like, yeah, let's kind of brush that aside and just kind of live in the moment and kind of take everything in and enjoy it. I think some of that probably could be like it's like, yeah, the Doctor's wearing a mask and is overcompensating. Could be the case, could be no. We'll have to spend more time with this Doctor to kind of really fully explore that. But because they have the conversation where Ruby's like, oh my God, we're like this far into the future and look what we're seeing. But then she's kind of thinking like, wow, like people, we made it to space. But then she's like, but yeah, 10 minutes ago you told me about your entire species being gone. She's like, how do you keep going? And for him, it's like, I have no job, no home, I don't have to pay bills, but I do have freedom. And just I go on from the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, which is kind of like, at first it's like, oh, that's awesome. But the inevitability that all companions kind of go through is the whole like that journey can't last forever. It does seem like it does for the Doctor, but that lifestyle isn't, not everyone's built for it. So it is a situation of, as time goes on, it wears people down more and more. Whereas the doctor kind of lives for it, because it's kind of like, yeah, I don't have a job, I don't have a purpose, I just have my freedom, and that's something beautiful to that. And it's like, yeah, the doctor never expressly goes out of your way to like help people. It's just like, yeah, that's what I do. It's not like that's my mission statement. It's just like, I'm having fun traveling the stars and the universe and time, and if I happen across some stuff that needs my help and needs some fixing, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to help, but not because I'm obligated to, simply because I choose to and I want to. This also might be one of the most adorable episodes of Doctor Who. The least, like, even though it's a little scary, like, you're kind of thinking like, oh, there's something scary, but it's like, when everything gets culminated, you're just like, oh, it's actually really just adorable. It's a little unnerving with the talking babies, just because you're just kind of like, oh, it's kind of like that weird uncanny valley of, getting them talking. It's just like, I mean, it's a little, Who's Talking, the literal, Who's Talking, the movies with the literal talking babies and stuff. So it kind of gives that same energy. But because this is a future where it's like, yeah, like there are babies being born for, population's sake or whatever, but the machines continue to populate babies. And when it's all said and done, like, they meet these other babies who are kind of in charge, and they're like, oh my God, mommy and daddy have come back. And you're like, ooh, no. Which immediately, hearing mommy and daddy takes me back to season 1 or series 1 of the continuation with Eccleston's doctor. Are you my mommy? Mommy. The immediate first thing that came to my mind when I heard mommy and daddy, I was like, ooh, that's triggering. But no, it's like, yeah, we're not your mom and daddy, even though we would love to be. And they're both captivated. Like, oh my God, look at these babies. Space babies. They're so adorable, so cute. It's just, and they are adorable. It's like, even though I don't want kids, but part of me kind of does. And it's just like, it's such a nothing set in stone situation. I'm assuming 32, probably do want to, kind of be figuring that out before, too long. But, standing on whether or not I, making that decision or not. But it's just that thing where it's that pull you get when you just see adorable kids. You're like, oh, I kind of want one of my own. But then you're also just like, yeah, but I'm too irresponsible to be responsible for another living human being like that. So, especially a human being that's going to rely on you and need you. But yeah, it turns out the babies were abandoned. Everyone that was on the ship abandoned them, when you're just like, oh, that's cruel and that's so messed up. It's like, how can someone abandon you? Guys are so adorable. Who could do this to you? And the doctor has a conversation with Poppy, and it's like, oh, were we wrong? And the doctor's like, what are you talking about? She's like, did we grow up wrong? Because they are like, they're stuck looking like the way they are, even though they did grow up. But it's not like they're full adults. I think they still are kids, but they're like kids stuck in baby body. They're like, single digit kids, like maybe 5, 6, or 7, stuck in the bodies of like basically infants. And it's like, oh, did we grow up wrong? Are we wrong? Which the doctor's like, look at me. After everything I've been through, like, there's no one is wrong for being the way they are. It's like, he's like, look at me, I'm super unique, like, and I'm amazing in my own right. It's like, I don't hear you saying anything. Poppy's like, yes, you are. It's like, good. But yeah, I'm special and unique. Like, every being out there, in existence is unique in its own regard. No two are alike. So never feel like you were like a mistake or something was wrong about you because you were and I think that's kind of a beautiful lesson to kind of take from. It's just like, as I say that as someone who has extreme self-esteem issues and self-worth, but it is just to kind of love yourself, recognize that there is no other you out there in the universe, that there's only one you. Yes, people can be similar, but no one's ever going to have the exact view on life and experience that you have. You might have similar experiences, but everyone is unique, very much like a snowflake. So, which is obviously prevalent in this episode, but there's also like the Nan-E, which is kind of like this literal nanny of sorts that kind of oversees them, helps blow their noses and everything. And the doctor goes to this specific storage unit that Nanny was like, go to 357. It's like, what's waiting there? Go to 357. Oh, Jesus, hurry up and go to 357. I was like, oh, wasn't expecting that. I was like, oh, is this AI system like kind of sentient in that regard? But we find out it's literal a person. Her name is Jocelyn. I forgot what her actual job is. She's not like an engineer or technician. I forgot what her actual job was. She had explained, but basically she's been having her voice go through a nanny like filter. And so like I love that you see it throughout the episode where it's like she says something and it like nanifies it a little bit. At one point you can tell she's cussing because the literal machine goes bleep bleep. Not the noise, but literally says the words bleep bleep. So it changes everything. So I thought that was kind of a cute little adorable touch. But we had this moment between the Doctor and Ruby, because the Doctor kept bringing up the fact is it's interesting how it's like, right, there's too many connective tissues where it's like you just like we went through everything we went through in the Christmas special that kind of revolved around a baby situation. Wasn't it goblins? I can't remember what the creatures in that were, but there was like a baby situation involved in that. But now it's like, now we're dealing with more babies, and then you, who was abandoned as a baby, trying to find your mom and figure stuff out. It's like, it's too much of a coincidence. There's connective tissue here. And so the Doctor remembers that night that Ruby was left, and then the mother points towards him. He's like, the memory changed. But then all of a sudden, all this snow comes falling down, and it's like, right, a memory came to life and manifested it that way. You're like, what does that mean? And the Doctor's even kind of like questioning, like, I don't know what that means. So the question then becomes like, well, it's got to be Ruby doing that, right? So, but what could it be? Like, is that like a subtle power she has? Why is it manifesting itself like that? Like, is she able to do that with anything? I guess if her bond is strong enough. Because in that moment, like, because she was a baby, like, so she wouldn't remember that. But somehow the Doctor's memory, she was able to kind of lock into that and bring it to, like, because it wasn't just her memory. Even though I guess it would be her memory, but you were an infant at the time. So how would you, I mean, you know, it's, I guess on some psychological level, it snapshotted in your memory. So you're able to kind of bring that forth. So once again, was that your memory you brought forth, or that was the Doctor's, or was it you kind of jumping into the Doctor's memory, which kind of, maybe it's a thing of, if you share the memory to some extent with someone, the location and aspects of the memory, maybe you can bring it forth, or is it just any memory you can do that with? And there's questions, and we'll have to wait to get answers on, and maybe as it progresses, we'll get more explanation on how that really, you know, the applications of that, and if it can really be controlled, or what that's about. But either way, they properly meet Jocelyn and they learn the truth about what happened. Basically, new laws were made so that the government was no longer going to pay for like this whole like taking care of these babies program, but there are laws that prevent them from stopping babies from being made. So these babies are being born here, but they were abandoned, which is like, oh, that's all kinds of like laws clashing in the most unethical way possible. I was like, that's super screwed up. And that's why the situation is what it is. It's been like this for 6 years. But then like even Jocelyn doesn't understand why that monster's there. So it's like, even you don't know what it is? But the Doctor keeps going on like, right, there's something about it. Why is it so scary? It's like, oh, because it's terrifying. He's like, no, like I'm fine with that. It's just like, why is this thing like scaring me to my core? It's like, it's not making any sense. But then we had Eric go off on his own because Ruby started piecing it together. She's like, right, we have babies, we have a nanny, and we have a literal monster from a story, and kind of pieces it together. It's like, it's all like a story being told to a child, where it's like, oh, here's your nanny reading a bedtime story to you. Which also, I love that this also showcased, like, the Doctor is such a dick that he was messing with them, where the kids were like, oh, screaming. Ruby's like, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then the Doctor's like, the boogeyman, and laughing. I was like, you're sick, Doctor. Like, that's so twisted. Why are you laughing? That's very sadistic. But I guess it's almost like, no, it's kind of scary and kind of effed up, but I'm also, like, having fun, so it's all good. But nevertheless, Eric's facing off against the monster to, prove he's not scared. But luckily the Doctor and Ruby get to him in time and rescue him. But then they in turn get rescued by Poppy and the other babies, who came with a flamethrower equipped. So it's like, all right, let's, we're doing this. But the Doctor and Ruby go off to investigate because they're trying to figure out what this monster is and trying to understand it. And ultimately, they kind of go to where it was made, and Poor Ruby gets covered in some goo. And I love, like, once again, the doctor just, like, having a laughing fit, just can't stop himself from laughing with everything. Because the doctor eventually figures out, after examining some stuff. At first, my immediate thought was, oh, it's got to be shit, right? From, like, all the changing diapers. But it's like, the moment he's like, oh, ooh, oh no. He's like, it's in the name. I was like, oh, boogers from, like, blowing their nose. And then, like, Ruby being so disgusted by it, it's like, oh yeah, this is Boogie. She's like, no, no. He's like, yeah. She's like, no, it can't be. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to someone. And like I said, the doctor's losing his shit laughing at it situation. But we enter this interesting dilemma as things progress, because the monster shows up, but they recognize, like, just like Ruby had said, basically the learning system malfunction, and another part of that education was, like, raising children, and it's like, oh, like, telling them scary stories, so it gave them a scary boogeyman as part of their education, because the system shorted out and messed up. So now this thing, which it's meant to, it exists on a frequency of hertz that activates the fear portion of the brain. The part of your brain that recognizes fear, it activates that in you. So that's why the doctor's like, that's why I was scared. It automatically makes anything and everyone who comes in contact with it immediately afraid, because that's its purpose. But either way, they're running for their lives, and then Jocelyn ends up trapping the thing in a room and opens the airlock. But the doctor, in true fashion, which I figured was going to happen, is like, no, don't do this. The doctor's not big on killing unless it's absolutely necessary. But even then, the doctor frowns upon killing. Like, the doctor will always try to find another way around it. Isn't always successful, but more often than not, the doctor is always able to find a way around it. But usually, it's always a third party or an X factor that comes in and kind of does the killing, which usually pisses off the doctor. But it's like, because it's an interesting conundrum, because it's like, the doctor sees a lot of himself in this boogeyman, because it's like, right, you are a unique creature, and also you're not a bad guy. You are a thing that exists for a purpose. You are made for a purpose. You are unique in your own right. There's nothing else like you. You are basically a sibling to these children. They, like, as Ruby put it, like, or Ruby and the doctor kind of put it, it's like, mommy and daddies came together to make the babies, but there was also a flip side to the mommy and daddy of the monster as well. The babies and the monster, or the boogeyman, are two sides of the same coin. And so it is almost like getting rid of their sibling in a weird way. But it's like, yeah, it's a being that's never going to actually hurt them. It's just meant to scare them for storytelling purposes. And it's part of this whole thing. It's kind of like a package deal. So killing it is like killing one of the kids in an effed up way. So the doctor steps in to try and stop them. And obviously Jocelyn wants to try and protect all the kids, because they also got really dark, where it's like, oh, why aren't you around there with the kids? Because she's like, well, I don't want to be around them. I don't want to see them die, because eventually they will, and I also don't want them to see me die either. It's like, we've been here for 6 years, and eventually there's only so much food and air here, so eventually, like, it's going to run out. So when I get close to dying, I'm gonna give the rest of the oxygen here to the babies, but even that's going to only keep them alive a little longer. You're like, geez, that's dark and depressing. Because they're stuck on a station and there's no means of going. There is a planet nearby that will take in refugees, but it is, as the conundrum is, they won't come get you. You have to go to them. They will literally only take you in if you land on their shores, is kind of how Jocelyn puts it. So once again, that kind of conundrum of, yay, you can take in refugees, but only if they make it here. And it's like, oh, that's crappy. Because we're not going to go out to you. You have to come to us. So that kind of puts them in the conundrum that they're in. But luckily, the doctor shuts down the airlock, but also Ruby got to Jocelyn and stopped her, because it's like, right, you're trying to save all the kids, all of them. Once again, because she didn't know all that they had learned, but now it's like explaining, what this whole thing is. And luckily the monster's still around by the end, and the kids and Jocelyn, she doesn't have the nanny filter to separate them. She's straight up with the kids now, because, like, her biggest fear was, oh, like, I don't want them to see me die, and I don't want to see them die either. So that's why I don't want to get close to them, because it hurt them in the long run if something happens. But if I'm just the voice that kind of looks after them and makes sure everything's okay to the best of my abilities, that's one thing. So, but luckily everything worked out okay. this is probably one of the, I mean, there's been instances throughout the series, but more often than not, it's kind of like a, hey, everything kind of turned out okay. In fact, everyone's fine. And in fact, obviously we leave this situation. I think there's rare cases where the doctor comes across a situation where they're leaving it better than they found it. Because like usually it's a situation of, well, along the way, one or two people might die. It's like, no, everyone's still okay. Everything's still intact. And we're just going to use the methane that's built up and stuff from all the shizzle that's been happening over the past 6 years, and using that to propel the ship towards a planet they need to go. And so with that, Ruby and the Doctor take off, the Doctor giving Ruby a key to the TARDIS. It's like, right, come along with me on this adventure, fun. It's like, yes, but we almost died. It's like, yes, but we also lived a lot. It's like, that's true. So come on. It's like, yes. It's like, cool. But it also is like, before we also go, stipulation, never ask me to take you to that night that you were dropped off in front of the church on that Christmas day. Never, because that will be a major complex paradox situation we find ourselves in, which, you know, they've set the stage for it. That is an inevitability that you will be back there. It won't be the first time the Doctor's created and been part of a complicated paradox situation. Not always of his making. Sometimes they're, because I'm trying to remember. I guess like I was trying to remember one that was kind of like a time loop situation. It was kind of a time loopish paradox. I want to say it was like the day Rose tried to save her dad from dying in that accident or whatever, I believe. And it just kind of played out like very Final Destination-esque, if I remember. Granted, I haven't seen that episode in like over a decade, so I've seen it once and that was over a decade ago, so forgive me if I'm wrong. But like, it's just that I think that technically counted as a paradox, but I'm sure there are other instances I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head. But it's like I said, it's an inevitability where it's like, we're going to go back to that. So, but she's like, yeah, but I'm sorry, you should have let me finish. I'm going to go see my mom on Christmas. So they immediately go back home. This might be one of the few cases where the Doctor takes the companion back roughly when they left. Obviously, some time has passed because it's like, well, yeah, because she's like, oh yeah, Ruby was like weird saying she loved me and bye. So obviously it's been a little bit of time, probably a couple hours, but still. Usually it's like the Doctor gets it wrong for about like a day or so, or a couple days. In fact, it's like, oh, you've been going a couple. So it seems like at least it's still the same day, no matter how much, whether it's minutes or hours that pass. But we do see the thing at the very end where the Doctor has scans of Ruby trying to see what she is, and it says she's Homo sapien, and it's just trying to read to see like what she is and scanning her. So it's gonna be interesting. Probably be a little while into the season before we get some. We'll probably check in every once in a while to find out about what's revealed from those scans about Ruby, like what her circumstances are. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this season plays out, what secrets Ruby has. I mean, it's not like every companion has like secrets like that, whether it's like an Amy Pond with her circumstances being complicated what they are, or whether it's like Clara, the Impossible Girl, stuff like that. So yeah, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see what mysteries exist behind Ruby and her mysterious birth, and her, what that means for whatever her situation is with this whole bringing memories to life. And like I said, how far that can go and stretch, we'll have to wait to see. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.